we cannot really talk about strengths without the weaknesses, right? So if we are not aware of the weaknesses of the places that we are hiding from, then we cannot really talk about the strengths. Because whether you believe it or not, this dualistic nature of the humankind is in such a way that when we are willing to lean into the weaknesses that we do have, can we only find strength. And so in this video I would like to break you down some things and some ideas that I've been blessed to comprehend throughout this journey of mine of the last year, where I pretty much spent like a monk. No social media, no social life, being with myself pretty much all the time, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And yeah, pretty much I was just like waking up, working out, no social life, and so on and so forth. But the point is that I've been just blessed to come through some ideas which are just fundamental, meaning that they are definitely first principle regarding to psychology and also spirituality. And I wouldn't like to line any kind of a draw here, okay? So draw a line, over here. So let me tell a story for you guys. For this weekend, basically my mother did visit me in the city where I'm living, and we spent some time together. I was working, I was hustling too, but we've got some good time together, and I would like to share a story with you. And yes, I know that you might be saying that, hey man, like this would be bullshit, freaking super duper damn boring story. But listen up, brother, I do swear to you that if you're listening to this, then you will be getting something that might be solving something that you haven't even thought that might be the problem, okay? Because this was for me exactly. So let me start the story 1 year before today, okay? And so pretty much 1 year before today, my mother still visited me, and I was living in the same city. And I clearly remember that after every single touch, after every single minute that we were talking together, every single family time, by the way, I really had a session when I was like running away from my family. I just simply had this period when I tried to share my weaknesses with my family and the people who are close to me, and I ended up, hurting myself, because those people, aka my family, aka the people who are close to me, were actually coming up with those things when I had, weak moments. So for example, hey, I'm eating 1 meal a day because I'm insecure as shit. I'm, and I'm afraid of certain things and so on. So basically, I was talking about my greatest fears, okay? And so there were some moments when I was low, and the other person was low too, and like they just came up with that, and they were like putting a knife inside of me, and they were like, you know what I'm talking about. So for example, you have someone you loved, and the thing is just coming back to you. And so what I've got to realize is that after that, I just pretty much switched into this, I'm completely locking myself out from everyone, and I'll be the one who are solving off my problems. And pretty much that happened for 1 year. And so I got to realize that I got super fucking isolated from people. This is idea number one. But the most important thing and the most important lesson what I would like to share with you is that yesterday I had a conversation with my mother, and I was willing to share all of these weaknesses that I do have with her. And so, and not only with my mother, but I'm over here on the internet, I'm willing to talk out all of my fucking weaknesses that I do have. I'm willing to talk about my weaknesses to my brother. I'm willing to talk about my weaknesses to my mother, to every single one who did hurt with shit like that in the past. To all of my friends, to all of the internet, to every single freaking human on this planet, because I do feel that when anyone under any circumstance could be coming back to me with that, I'd be strong enough to handle that. And so this is the story that I really want to share with you. This is the takeaway that I really wanted to enlighten here, because it doesn't mean when you're strong, it doesn't mean that you don't have weaknesses. It doesn't mean that you don't have the shit that you're afraid of. It doesn't mean that you're not a vulnerable, shitty human being. It doesn't mean like that. When you're strong, you know that whatever might be coming, you you can operate from such a clean, rational state that you are able to handle those situations, okay? So what do I mean by that is that, for example, you are talking about your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses, and yes, you will have some days when those weaknesses and those vulnerabilities will be coming up, and you will be in the darkest fucking places and moments. And so you know from yourself that you are actually capable of solving any of that shit if the whole world would be throwing it on you at once. Because you are just so confident in yourself, your abilities to handle that shit. And that is where strength happens. That is when strength begins. That is when you will have the courage to actually go ahead and talk about your weaknesses and how a shitty person you are. Because this is what I do feel is perhaps the greatest trait that we men lack, especially who've been lacking a very, very, I would say, identifiable father figure through growing up, or a masculine figure through growing up to follow. And so what I do believe here is that when we can get to our own way, and when we can be comfortable with sharing our vulnerabilities, then we can we are the strongest. And so this is something that I've been blessed to realize throughout my monk mode session, because let me tell you this. Imagine, just please close your eyes and imagine this situation. You are alone. Weather is not good. You don't have anyone in your mind at this very moment to call up. Or if you would have, you wouldn't, because you are just feeling disgusted from yourself and disgusted from reality. And above that, on top of that, you have nothing on this planet Earth that could make you happier. Happy or bring you out from this blueness. And on top of that, you haven't eaten and you do not even want to eat, despite your body's craving food like fucking crazy. And you're physically hungry, but you're just mentally not allowing yourself, or you're just too weak mentally even to eat. Those moments did happen very, 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 very many times throughout the last year. And every single time when I went through such a moment, I got to realize that there's nothing that can hurt me, you know? And this is perhaps a principle from David Goggins, that there are just places when there's just no, you just hit rock bottom, like there is no under that. And when you are willing to face those spaces and see that, hey, this is still myself, hey, I'm still alive, then you can just simply come from a place of complete fucking confidence that whatever the freaking hell will be coming, you will be able to handle that, because you know that nothing can fucking hurt you, because you've been on the lowest, like I don't think that there is lower, okay? And so when you know that you can handle the places and you can handle the situations when you're like out, when you're like there's nothing here to live for. And I don't necessarily mean that, you know, like a depressed state, but it's like a super I would say disinterest regarding to enthusiasm and regarding to willingness to live. And I don't want to talk about the cases and the causes over here, and I don't want to make you think that depression or some shit like that. But I mean like natural human experience when you're like low, like fucking low. And so if you can handle those places and those states, then you must realize, and not necessarily realize, but you know that there is no such thing that can hurt you. And what I came throughout this last year, I just got to realize that I'm opening myself up, and I'm willing to talk about my weaknesses. I'm willing to talk about every single thing, and also something that really did add up to this principle and this state of being strong and more, I would say, comprehensive regarding to how I'm carrying myself, is also, whether you believe it or not, is sales, cold calling. Because I just fast forward to today, a year back, I still was making cold calling, And I was trying to lead the conversation so therefore I can, get something without me really having the balls to say those things. The same did happen with girls. The same did happen with, me wanting to sell something. I just simply couldn't get to the point. I was like, round and round, but not to the point. It's like, now I'm straight to the fucking point. We are selling leads, brother. Do you want it or not? No. Why you don't want? That's a different conversation. The same to the girls, for example. It's like, hey, I think that you're cool. I think that we're supposed to be hanging out because I think that you have a very charming personality or something like that. Or if I'm feeling something, or if I'm thinking something, I'm not holding fucking back. Okay, and so I don't know the fucked upness that it is coming from. I'm not a psychiatrist, and I don't really have a background to be qualified to talk about from a more scientific realm regarding this. But what we'll have to realize is that this is the basis, brothers. So if you are willing to go down to those places, and if you are willing to be strong in this regard, then you have to understand and realize that there's nothing that hurt you, and you can be yourself, and you can just man the fuck up. And that's where you start creating shit, because you're not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid from being hungry. I'm not afraid from being left alone. I'm not afraid from any fucking thing. And so from here on, I can just go, because I know that I cannot really hurt myself. Or I mean, like I can hurt myself, but I can stand up. Like nothing that I cannot handle can happen. And so that is the ultimate confidence that allows you to be vulnerable. And this is something that many men just simply doesn't understand, that you just cannot be vulnerable. You just have to be hard and strong. And this is what I've done for a very, very long time. It's like, I have to be tough. Yes, I'm tough as fuck, man. Like I'm tough as fuck. Like I wasn't eating yesterday properly. I wasn't eating today properly. I was coming out here running. This is a fucking Sunday. I will have a gym session today. I'm still planning to go back work. It doesn't get me wrong. It's like I'm tough, and I do love this shit. But I'm just not like, I'm not willing to be vulnerable because I'm not willing to handle any situation because someone might hurt me. You know what I mean? Love.